My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast. And tonight, it's a very, I have to say, somber show because I'm reflecting back 55 years of a friendship with a guy called Albert S. Ruddy. Most of you know him now because he was the producer of The Godfather. And you know him as being the storyteller for The Offer, which we'll get into. But when I knew him, he was the producer of Hogan's Heroes.
Oh, that's right.
And he knew some friends of mine, fortunately, and he just started to get involved with The Godfather. And the friends who were close to me was a Pokey Newman, believe it or not, that's her name, and Betty McCart. And they were very close friends. And I knew Betty McCart and her husband, Bill, and their two children. And we had a mutual friend called Clint Eastwood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And when Clint Eastwood went over to Italy to do a bunch of spaghetti westerns, a $1 More, A Town Called Bastard, all of that, we were all house sitting his house. And Maggie Eastwood, was close to me. And so with that said, I used to come in on the weekends, because I operated my nightclub in Vegas Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, then come in and hang out with them. And I'd cook for the kids. I really got to know them. And that's when they was first starting to put together a movie project called The Godfather.
That's amazing.
Now
Well,
you can imagine. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I just was watching a little some videos on that, and Clint Eastwood is the one who presented the award.
Oh, I know.
So that's crazy.
A little trivia. For the last 10 or 15 years, Clint Eastwood or Al Ruddy would call each other each morning to
Oh,
know
wow.
he was still alive. They're both 94.
Really? That's
Well, now
amazing.
Al is dead. Al died last week. And that's why I would like to dedicate this show to him, because in all reality, as I reflect on my life, the past 52 years going into 53, just on The Godfathers, if he wasn't so adamant and supportive, and Betty McCart was a big player in the beginning, which maybe that's how we should start telling the story, because Betty McCart was giving me all the information in Paramount that what was going on with the movie, because the book was a big seller, and they said that they were going to use unknowns, Sicilians to be Sicilians, Jewish doctors to be Jewish doctors. And with my ego, I always wanted to be an actor, but I knew the business like insane. How am I going to get in?
Right.
Well, I felt this is my way. So I had a few dollars and I hired a film crew, and I shot it, which is very important, an intricate part of the story. I shot it on 16 millimeter mag stripe film. And I got it from Allen Photography. Don't even ask me how I remember this guy's name, in Las Vegas. And he sold me a can of film that was old. And it was old, so when we developed it, it came out in a sepia look. Not black and white, but like a burgundy in black and white. And unbeknownst to me, Coppola, once he finally got the job, because they were negotiating for months and bickering over casts, who they wanted, because the Hollywood set wanted Hollywood stars. And he wanted authentic people like an Al Pacino, who did only one movie, nobody knew him, called Panic at Needle Park.
What is that? Panic
in Needle Park was Al Pacino's first movie that anybody got to see.
Was it any good? Because I've never heard of it.
I don't know. I don't know. It probably wasn't, but he saw it.
That's crazy. Well, and talk about authentic people. You certainly are authentic. You know what I mean? It's just
not a thespian.
Right.
That's what happened.
Have it all. He had to work his way through.
So the thing is this. So I shot a scene for Sonny, a scene for Michael, and a scene for Carlo. And through Betty McCart, she arranged for me to have a drive on to Paramount Studios, which is a big deal, especially if you're an unknown. But she let me know that Al Ruddy liked Oriental women and great English cars. So I just happened to have a 65 Bentley at the time. And I arranged to get an Oriental woman from Rob Lee, who was the producer of the Folies Bergère of the Tropicana Hotel. And fortunately for me, my stepfather, Frank Costello, owned the Tropicana Hotel. So I had no problem convincing him to give me a lady. And I dressed her like in an Edwardian look. Like I had a leather costume made for her as a chauffeur, very short skirt. And I got the film box, and I took the cover off the Godfather book itself and fitted it to it and covered it. And I did the intro of the test saying, "Hi, I'm Johnny Russo. I'm Sicilian, natural, first generation American. And what you're about to see is the original screen test for Michael, Sonny, and Carlo, played by me." Well,
you're brave. You're gutsy.
Well, not only that, I was like in my 20s.
But he got to lose, right?
So now we get the drive on, and I made her give me blow by blow. I said, when you come out here, I'll be right outside. Because I was in the car. I got out and let her go and deliver it.
Oh, yeah. That probably didn't hurt a thing, Gianni.
Oh, no, that was the whole thing. So
exactly.
The bottom line, when she pulled up, she said everybody was looking out of the Venetian blinds because the front gate must have said, "This limo's coming with a Chinese chick."
Hot looking broad walking up.
Hello. And Betty knew what was happening. So I think she forced it a little bit. And when she got out, she walked in, and Betty let her go meet Mr. Ruddy and present
your box of films
right to him. They had some small talk, and he said, whose car is that? He's Mr. Russo's. And he wanted me to hand deliver this to you. And she did, and she left and went away. Now, for the next few days, unbeknownst to me, but I'm getting all the scoops of what's going on through Betty McCart, who's Al Ruddy's assistant.
Assistant.
And unbeknownst to me, Francis Ford Coppola was trying to convince the studio of shooting it in a sepia tone to lend to the darkness that Mario Puzo wrote the story. And so with that, it gave me an opportunity to meet everybody. Stanley Jaffe watched it. Bobby Evans watched it. Even Charlie Bluedorn, who bought, and Al Ruddy, everybody that was involved in the production. Gray Fredrickson. And so with that said, I get a letter a few weeks later saying, "We're sorry we misled you. We know you went to great expense for this test, but we're using, actors, thespians, studied artists. And just at the same time, as it would be, Joe Columbo, whose son just got arrested, was picketing the FBI building.
Oh.
And saying that the Godfather is treating Italian Americans like criminals, and he was boycotting the book and grandstanding, and he created a new club, a new league, actually, called the Italian American Defamation League. Another strike of genius for me is he hired a lawyer called Barry Schlotnick, a nice Jewish lawyer, which is great. Italians shouldn't represent themselves, but get a good Jew lawyer, man, you're in good hands, especially in LA, because most of them are Jewish. So I called Joe Columbo up. I know him because of Costello, obviously. And I called this club on 86th Street. I said, I got an idea. I see you picketing and all. He said, yeah. I said, I want to come and see you. He said, come on in, because I was on the West Coast. So I flew a day or two later. I come in. I call him. I go to the club on 86th Street. He said, come on, take a ride with me going into the city to the new league office on Madison Avenue and 59th Street. Well, I know that area well, because the Copacabana's on 60th Street. And I've been up through that neighborhood, and my apartment is there now, where I'm at, actually sitting in. So we get to the office, and he introduced me to Barry Schlotnick. And I said, now that Barry's representing you, I said, I have an idea that we can make a lot of money. And he looked at me, and simultaneously, him and Barry Schlotnick said, we can make a lot of money. I said, what's my idea?
Right.
So he said, tell me your idea. I said, let Barry read the script. And whenever you don't like, if they agree to change it, you get to all the union guys who were protesting the film. He already had a big march of 100,000 people protesting the film on Columbus Circle. I said, and if they agree to take it out, he said, how do we make any money? I said, if they give you all the changes you want, you green light the film with them, and then we ask for the world premiere in every major city the night before it goes into the theater to the public. And we could sell tickets and have a big gala dinner and get $150, $200 a ticket, because the book was in the 6th print already.
Oh, wow.
So he says to me, you think you could do that? I said, no, give me permission. So he said, Barry, what do you think of the idea? He said, sounds like a good idea. So now I said, tell me, I'll go. So he says, arrange it. So I walked up the street. I walked from Madison Avenue up to Columbus Circle, which is now the Gulf and Western. I mean, no, it was the Gulf and Western. It's Trump Plaza now.
Oh.
Which I love, is a good omen yet. So I'm sitting in the lobby in the morning, figuring they're coming in. And here they come one by one. And they're all gathering in the lobby, and they're all looking at me. And they know me from the screen test. That's how they knew me.
What are you doing here? Oh.
That's exactly what they said. So Al Ruddy comes over to me. He said, what are you doing here? I said, well, I walked towards all of them. There was like 3 or 4 of them. I said, you have a major problem here. He said, we got no problem. This is Bobby Evans now. I said, Mr. Evans, you got a problem with the Columbos. I said, I just left Joe Columbo. He said, you did what? I said, I just left Joe Columbo, and he wants to meet. He'll come here? I said, what time you want him? I'll bring him. So with this, they said, bring him the next morning at 10 o'clock. I said, he'll be here. I go down to the office. I tell him the meeting's on. I said, now, Joe, understand, they're making a movie about gangsters. You know more about gangsters than anybody. So when we go there, we shouldn't go just Barry, you, and I. Let's bring a couple of heavies with us. So we brought Butterass to Chico, which I knew very well. Frankie Boy to Chico, not Frankie, I mean, that was the nephew. Butterass was around them for a long time. And another big hood. So we go to the meeting, and they're talking about the script and all of that. And I did all the talking. I said, Barry Schlotnick's going to read the book and the script. And if you agree to make the changes, Mr. Columbo will make the arrangements with the unions and all of the locations, because they already lost Manhasset. They thought they were going to shoot The Godfather out in Manhasset. The town rejected them. So now they were under pressure. They've spent a lot of money in pre-production. So I said, let him do this. In the next 48 hours, we'll come back. So now they're all agreeing to that. They're all standing up and shaking hands. I said, whoa, wait. I said, hey, Joe, what about me? He said, oh, yeah, what about my boy here? He said, oh, no, we make the movie, we'll get him a part. I said, excuse me. I said, Joe, tell him to sit down. He didn't even tell him to sit down. He went like this, like God.
Oh.
And they all sat. I'm talking about, these are all the heads. And I got up and I said, listen, I brought him here. If we go ahead with this, I want a major part. This is what we'll talk about. I said, no.
Yeah.
He's not even going to waste his time or Barry's time. We got to agree to this now before we go another step further. So I said, who's playing Michael? Now, to a lot of the audience, it's going to be a shock to what I'm going to say right now, because James Caan was playing Michael first.
Oh, that's right.
And
no wonder he wanted to punch you.
Oh, no kidding. And then I said, well, who's playing Sonny? They said, Carmine Caridi. He's in a play on Broadway, the band from La Mancha. They thought he should be a big guy just because of the way the story read, and that Sonny was such a hothead. I said, okay, who's playing Carlo? They said, we didn't get to that part yet. So I said, okay, Joe, I want to play Carlo. He says he's playing Carlo. And they're all looking at each other. So, whoa. He said, excuse me. You hear what I say? He's playing Carlo or eithyhe now.
Oh, boy.
So all the stories you heard, all the things even in the offer, how I got the part. This is how I got the part. And if anybody's listening to this, think about it. Why would me, an unknown, never made a movie, not even a commercial, get a part if this isn't the way it happened?
Right.
So
even that Susan said that. Susan, I don't know her name, but your friend said, I don't know why they're trying to rewrite
Mario's girlfriend.
Oh, Mario's girlfriend said that when she was on your show long ago. She even said that. She said, I don't know why they're trying to rewrite history, but that's hilarious. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Some guy no one's ever seen before. And they just pulled him out of nowhere.
And so now, spin forward, the movie gets greenlit. We're going. I go to the union because most people don't know. I knew the law because they tried to say, well, you're not an actor, have you? Agent called me. I said, excuse me. I did my homework. New York is a Taft-Hartley Act state.
And what's it called?
Taft-Hartley Act. You could, if you have a letter for any union, you cannot be shoved out of a job.
Oh.
It's a major, which I made sure I knew. But they were going to try to sell that to me. I said, I know the law. New York's a Taft-Hartley Act state. Give me the letter. I'll go to the union and join. And I did.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Comes to another interesting story that there was other versions.
All right, hold on. Let's keep them on the edge of their seat and give us just a minute to do a quick commercial.
Okay.
All right.
We know where you live. You're going to want to hear this story, the way it really happened. We know where you live.
Vinny from South Philly here. I'm going to tell you, I had one of the best Sunday dinners in a long time. I'm going to tell you why. Right here. Corleone, fine Italian, brother. This stuff is the real deal. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everybody knows me out there. They know. I make my own sauce. I make my own gravy. I make my own pasta. I don't buy this stuff in the store. However, I made an exception. Why? Because my friend Johnny Russo out there, I know what he's capable of doing. I know what he's about. He's about quality. So I said, I gotta take a shot. And I'm glad I did. Because see, I've had dinner all over the world, but this product brings me back to Italy. We got the olive oil, and I've lived in Italy, okay? I lived in Calabria, I've went to Sicily, I've been in Messina, I've been to Palermo, I've been everywhere. And this oil reminds me of an old Italian couple that my father used to buy olive oil from. They used to live in the mountains and they used to make their oil pure from their own olive grove. This is it. It brings me right back to that. And you don't need a lot. You put a little on your salad, you marinate. Come on. You can figure it out. This is the real stuff. I also got their arrabbiata, okay? Again, I don't buy this stuff, but I made an exception. I'm glad I did. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to try this stuff. You won't be sorry, okay? Give it a shot. You go to Corleone Fine Italian. You order it. It comes to the door. And then all you got to do is put it together. And I'm sure you can look it up. And if you don't know how to cook it, you ask me. And I'll be over for dinner. Enjoy. Salud.
Okay, we're back.
I delight.
Now, this story is like Mario Puzo wrote it. They give me a call sheet for the people who are non-actors, which I was at that time. You get a sheet every day to tell you what time to show up or not show up and where and when to be. So I got the sheet, and it said to go to Patsy's on 119th Street. Now, I used to be there all the time. It was Fat Tony Salerno's club. He was the head of the Genovese family up in Harlem. And I was so happy that we were going there. So I got up there a little earlier because I was always up there anyway. I used to bring midnight loans, 5,000, 10,000. They have big Ziganet games there. So I go there, and there's like 100 years of good behavior at the bar. Danny Pagano, Danny Sr., Danny Jr., a very good friend of mine. Later on became a very close friend of mine. Federici. Tony was a guy of guys and stayed my friend for over 40 years. And then Fat Tony Salerno. So they all saw me. They said, "What are you doing here?" So nobody asked for you. They asked if I need money. They wanted money. I said, "No, I'm here for the rehearsal." He said, "But the rehearsal for the Godfather?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I got a big part in it." They said, "Get out of here. You're not an actor." I said, "I'm playing Carlo." And this went on anytime I told anybody. Anybody I said I'm in the movie, they all said no. So now, that's why, to me, I had to make this work. So now we go into the rehearsal. All the main cast is there. And they have a big table, everybody's sitting around, and they had our cast name on it. Like Carlo, Connie, Michael. And as you read your name, you sat down in that chair, and we were just going to read the script. Just read it. I already memorized the script because I can't read. So when it got to my part, I knew whose speech was before mine and after, because I don't want to mess up.
Right.
So now we go, and now they said, "Okay, everybody sit down. We're going to bring in Marlon Brando." Now, we know what this guy means to a lot of you thespians, but on the breaks, please don't bother him. Don't have eye contact. Don't talk to him.
Oh, boy.
I said, "Okay, don't bother me." So now 20 minutes go by, a half hour go by, 45 minutes, we have to take a break, another union law. So we take a break, and they bring out food, all kinds of food. And Francis Ford Coppola said, "I want the Italians to enjoy the snacks and all that, but I want you to exaggerate your mannerisms, your hand gestures, because all the non-Italians, like James Caan being Jewish, Marlon Brando was Polish. They all had 5 days to become Italian in that room." So I'm sitting there for a minute, and here comes Marlon Brando. He walks over to me. So I said, "I'm not doing nothing wrong." He came over to me. He said, "You're a big TV actor." I said, "No." He said, "You got a big movie coming out." I said, no. He says, well, you're not on Broadway. I know everybody on Broadway. I said, you're right. What's this, a quiz show or what? So he looked at me, and then he calls Francis over. He says, Francis, he's playing Carlo. And Francis rolled his eyes because he didn't cast me. He cast everybody else, but he didn't cast me. Joe Columbo cast me and put me in the. He didn't even know who I was. But they told me can't fire. So now I'm listening to him. I never broke down the script. He's marrying my daughter, undermines the family. He sets up my son Sonny for the Barzinis. And I'm listening to this guy, and I'm saying, this guy's trying to get me fired. So again, I don't know protocol. So I said, Francis, go over there a minute. And I dismissed the director. And he left. The whole room went silent, saying, like, who is this guy? He just dismissed the director and he left. So now they told us not to look at Brando. I not only was looking at him, I put my arm around him. I said, come here, I want to talk to you. And I put my arm on him, I walked him out of earshot because I knew where the game room was in the back. There was no game going on. But I didn't want to insult him in front of these people. So I get nose to nose with him. I said, let me tell you, Mr. Brando, and all due respect, I know who you are and how powerful you are, but listen to me clear. You get me fired from this movie. Are you listening to me? Look at me. And he looks at me. I said, I will suck on your heart right here. You will bleed out here today if you get me fired. He looked at me in amaze. He stepped back. He said, that was beautiful. You could really act. He thought I was acting. I was ready to kill him. I could never go back to the neighborhood. They all thought I was lying to begin with.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You're like, I meant it, pal. Oh, that's so funny.
But that's how we became close friends. And everybody was staying at the Park Lane Hotel, all the actors that were not living in New York. And they didn't know where I was living. I said, I want a room there too, because I want to walk out every morning. Well, the fans are
sure. Oh, that's so
with
crazy.
that said, he was staying at the eithyhe Hotel. He didn't want to stay there because he liked the Monkey Bar on 54th Street, which was a great hangout. So he asked me after a couple of days of rehearsal, he said, why don't you pick me up when we come up for the rehearsals? I said, no problem. Where are you? That's how I found out where he was. Because he saw the Chinese chick. He had a thing for Chinese chicks. And with that said, any day that I was working and he was working, even when I wasn't working, I'd have to go pick him up and take him where he had to go. At the end of the movie, I said, because he really helped me a lot. I mean, he was my own. That's why I'm the only person to say my only acting coach was Marlon Brando. Because when Dick Smith was doing the transformation, because Marlon Brando was only 48 at that time, it took 3 hours to make him into the Corleone with the mouthpiece and the makeup. Yeah. So during that time, everybody wanted to go to the dressing room, but you couldn't get in unless he invited you. He'd send an AD, an assistant director, go find that Russo kid and bring him in. Every day when we were working together, we would run lines. He taught me every nuance there was. And I watched him on the set. When they set up his office, they showed him the office, which they do too, out of respect to an actor like him. Sure. And he's looking around, and the set designer's there. He says, put a fish tank over here. Walk around. And as we were walking around, this cat kept like getting in front of his feet. And he was in the studio. He lived in the studio. Oh. So I want that cat on my desk. Anytime I sit, I want that cat. So that was easy. They put catnip and they put the gun, Oh. But to watch him create this character. So I said to him, what are you doing with the fish tank? He says, I have a speech about killing people to my guys. But for the audience, I want them to see how gentle and low man I am while I feed my fish. I mean, the man was a genius, the
Yeah.
translator. And I mean, even when he said, when we were doing the lines, which he came on the set the day I had to shoot that scene with Pacino, and he was not on the job that day. And what people don't know in the film business, every movie star gets a number, so their names are not on the dressing rooms for people to bother.
Oh,
So he was number one. So as soon as he came on the set, all the assistant directors on the walkie-talkies go, number one's on the set. Who called number one? Who called number one? And he
what's
knew
he
his
doing?
name. He says, nobody call me. I'm here to help that kid.
That kid.
And it's just, he absolutely directed that scene with Pacino and I, when Pacino comes in and says, you got to answer for Santini, Carlo. And he walked me right through it. He said, when he hands you the airline ticket, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. He said, I want you to sit down and sneak a look. You already read the script. You already know you're going through the windshield, but you can't dictate that on a screen. Audience are going to know. You got to be fearful of your life. You're looking for a security blanket, maybe the ticket. If you can get out of here with the ticket, it's going to give you all those. I mean, you're talking about Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg, the greatest teachers in the world. This guy blew them all away. And that's why when you see The Godfather next time, even you, Jeannie, when you see it, look at that scene. All of that, looking up, when we asked me, Carlo, today I straighten out all family business. Stracci's dead. Cunio's dead. And I start to cry. He said, think of something in your life that could make you cry. All I had to do
Oh
was think,
boy.
all I had to do was think of the polio one every day.
Right. I was gonna say that wasn't tough for you.
But the thing of people don't know, we do a master shot first with the whole everybody's in the scenes, a wide shot. Then you come in a two shot of Pacino and I. Then a shot of over Pacino's shoulder and I. Then a close up of each. So you got to keep emoting that feeling for all those takes.
Wow.
It's like 20, 30 takes. And I'm not an actor. But
Right. That's what I was just gonna say. The fact that you could pull that off, even with just one person teaching you, absolutely of never doing it again. But maybe it had something to do with your being incognito all the time and kind of being on the down low.
I think that what I attribute that to is all the pain and suffering I went through at 5 years of age. I had a
Oh
lot to
yeah,
draw on, you know. I had a
sure.
lot to draw on. And that's why we're talking today for people who just tuned in. I'm basically memorializing a friendship that I created with Al Ruddy, who I
Right.
didn't know at all, became the producer of the biggest movie in the world, won for Best Picture, won Godfather 2 also. And then he went on to crucify me, which we'll get into, that I don't understand. When
Right.
he made the offer, what was the offer about? I'm trying to pacify myself. He must have
Right.
been sick or in pain or know he was dying. Because here we are now, 2 years later, the man is dead.
Right.
And the offer was everything as he remembered it.
Was it a documentary or what? It was just a movie, right?
No,
I didn't
no,
see
no, it
it.
was a mini series of the
That's
making of
right.
The Godfather, and
Right.
it was played on Paramount Plus, and I kept getting negative phone calls about it. I mean, understand this. I mean, what The Godfather did for me, the movie, before we get to the offer. I was the only businessman amongst all the actors. And even Pacino said to me one day, De Niro was here in my apartment. He said, how did you get all these products? That's what are you talking about? How did you get Genco olive oil and all? I said, well, Nobody was licensing it. It's one of the
Right.
best brands in the world. Who wants to have Rayo's? Or now, everybody has a sauce. I said, this is an icon, this product. I now have it. And I just got a 10-year renewal.
Oh, wow.
And my lawyers what were negotiating with Viacom, Paramount, and them, they figured out my age. They said the guy's going to be 102. He's going to come back for another 10-year license.
That's hilarious. You're like, keep it coming. That's amazing. All right. Well, before we start on the upper, we need to take another quick break.
Okay.
And then we'll finish
right back. In fact, the commercial you're going to see is about Corleone Fine Italian Products. And if you don't say to watch it, go online, Corleone Fine Italian Products.
I can attest to it. It's fantastic. And I never cook, but they made me look good one day. So I made it for my kids. I was showing off.
What a great testimony that is. Thank you. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And again, Al Ruddy, I love you, man. Why you threw me under the bus the last few years? I can't get mad at you because I made millions because of you. And I don't know my life. Generally, I so many times, and I've been asked this, and so many mornings I wake up laying in bed just saying, how amazing is this all? This whole life came because of making one movie. We're going into the 54th year. It's insanity. But anyway.
So Johnny, did he write the movie was as he remembered it, you said, or his telling of making the movie, did someone else help him write it, or why would that has anyone ever said why it that way?
Supposedly, the way the storyline went, he dictated them and they wrote the screenplay.
Right.
What happened to me, I kept getting calls from my grandchildren. A lot of them are old enough to watch it.
Right.
And one of them said to me, Poppy, you really beat up that girl. I said, what are you talking about? I didn't know I was acting. No. And I said, forget about it. I paid no attention to it. But then when my youngest grandson to me, and he said, my friend's mother said you beat up the lady. So this is going to be shocking to everybody who's been listening to it from the beginning. Remember I mentioned Barry Schlotnick in the beginning? He was the lead. You won't believe who my attorney is today. Stu Schlotnick, his son, is my attorney yet. And Stu knew all about this. He even knew Joe Columbo because he was their lawyer. So he knew him as a little boy. So with this, I called Stu. I said, Stu, did you watch The Office? No, I heard about it. I said, a lot of people are calling me, telling me that they're really persecuting me in this. It's not me. So he watched it. He called me the next day. He was like a kid on Christmas morning. He said, I can't believe what they did to you. He says, this is great. I said, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever hear the terminology defamation per se? I said, no. He's when they defame you in public by using your real name, and they did. They used Gianni, not Carlo. See, Carlo Rizzi, they had the character.
Right.
So they could have easily said that because that was the character. They said Johnny Russo, the scene in the 8th hour of The Offer. They go into Talia Shire's dressing room, the girl who's playing the new Talia Shire, and she had an ice bag on her face. They said, what happened to you? They said, Johnny Russo came in here and gave me a beating. I said, so what's so great about that? He said, the fact that they defamed you in your real name.
Right.
I said, what's per se? Per se is they put you in a criminal act. You're beating up a woman. They have no defense for that. He couldn't wait to call Paramount's office.
Well,
But long story short, You
Yeah.
know, I can never. I mean, the gratitude.
Right.
And I'm all I mean, all the things in my life, I have to say 90% is because of The Godfather.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they did a nice thing in the offer. When you watch the hours that I'm in, at the end of it, they re-edited those hours, went back in, re-edited it, and said the part of Johnny Russo has been fictionalized to embellish the story. And they
It-
sent a check for a few dollars.
well, it makes you wonder who would put that in there? What would be the purpose of it? And that would have been a big deal. Like, why would you just walk in out of nowhere and go smack Talia Shire around in the middle of filming a movie?
Well, but it even got a little worse because I never saw it, but people would tell me when I was getting a beating in the movie, The Offer, the director, the assistant director, went over to the director and
Oh,
Ruddy standing behind the camera and said, he's really getting hurt. He should stop beating him. Ruddy, the character that was playing Ruddy, said, oh, he's a wise guy. Beat him a little bit more. Who cares? They said that in the movie.
I remember that.
And then
I didn't watch it for a long time because you had started talking about this, and then I did watch it, and it just made you sit to think, why would it all of a sudden come out? I don't know how many years, how long ago was The Godfather made?
53 years ago, made.
Yeah, so
It's even worse. If you remember that now, do you remember when Betty McCart walks over to the ambulance? I'm laying on a stretcher after the beating. And I'm about to say something. She punches me in the stomach.
And that was that. But I'll be back.
No regrets, no complaints. Lived a life with no restraints. The little kid they all counted out, proved them all wrong, that's without a doubt. Laying there with my left side numb, 5-year bout with polio, but yes, I won. From standing on corners like how many pens you want to living in a bakery, then opening my own restaurant. Of course, I had some help along the way, friends like Frank Costello that I miss each and every day. Things from many years ago still resonate.